It starts with pain, the kind that keeps you awake at night and makes your chest feel heavy, the kind the world never sees but judges you for anyway. Trauma isn't what destroys you, weakness is, because trauma forges warriors while weakness begs for comfort. Every scar you carry is proof you survived when quitting would have been easier, and that survival gives you power if you're brave enough to claim it. The world doesn't reward excuses, it rewards dominance, discipline, and the refusal to stay broken. Pain is not a curse, it's a lesson demanding respect. And if you don't learn from it, it will repeat itself louder. Weak people complain about what happened to them. Strong people decide what happens next. You either let suffering define you or you weaponize it. Comfort makes you soft, but struggle sharpens you into something unstoppable. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's the best news you'll ever hear, because it means your future is in your hands. Stand up, take responsibility, and turn every traumatic moment into fuel. When you stop fearing pain and start using it, you become dangerous, and the world always bows to those who refuse to stay weak. Discipline is the foundation of freedom, and without it, you will spend your entire life chained to impulses, emotions, and moods that change with the wind. People love to talk about freedom as if it means doing whatever you want, whenever you want, but that idea is the greatest lie ever sold to weak minds. True freedom is not the ability to act on desire, it is the ability to control desire. When you lack discipline, you don't make choices, your cravings make them for you, your anger makes them for you, your fear makes them for you. You wake up tired, not because life is hard, but because you trained your body to avoid effort. You feel lost, not because the world is unfair, but because you never forced yourself to build structure. Discipline is waking up when you don't feel like it, working when motivation disappears, and staying silent when your ego wants to react. It is the painful repetition that builds a mind so strong that chaos can't shake it. Every undisciplined man thinks he is free, yet he cannot control his eating, his spending, his anger, his lust, or his time. That is not freedom, that is slavery in its purest form. Emotions are terrible leaders. They are reactive, short-sighted, and selfish. If you let them run your life, they will drive you straight into regret. Discipline, on the other hand, is calm, patient, and ruthless. It doesn't care how you feel today. It cares about who you become tomorrow. Discipline forces you to choose long-term respect over short-term pleasure, growth over comfort, purpose over distraction. It builds self-trust, because every time you do what you said you would do, you prove to yourself that you are not weak. And once you trust yourself, you stop seeking validation from the world. A disciplined mind is not easily offended, not easily tempted, and not easily broken. It can sit in silence while others panic, stay focused while others complain, and keep moving while others quit. That is freedom, the freedom to remain steady when life tries to crush you. Without discipline, success feels overwhelming. With discipline, success becomes inevitable. Discipline turns chaos into order, anxiety into clarity, and potential into reality. It doesn't arrive magically. It is built through pain, repetition, and sacrifice. You must train it daily like a muscle, knowing it will hurt before it helps. But once it is built, it gives you something no external force can ever take away: control over yourself. And when you control yourself, the world loses its power over you. That is why discipline is the foundation of freedom, and why anyone who avoids it will forever be trapped, reacting to life instead of commanding it. Discipline is the foundation of freedom, and without it, you will live at the mercy of emotions that don't care about your future, your goals, or your potential. Emotions feel powerful in the moment, but they are weak architects of a life worth respecting. They rise and fall without warning, pulling you toward comfort when you should be building strength, toward reaction when you should be thinking, toward pleasure when you should be preparing. When discipline is absent, your feelings become your master. You eat because you feel stressed, quit because you feel tired, lash out because you feel offended, and procrastinate because you don't feel ready. That isn't living freely. That is being controlled from the inside. The world doesn't need chains when your emotions already keep you trapped. Most people don't realize they are slaves because their prison feels comfortable. Sleeping in, avoiding responsibility, chasing dopamine, and blaming circumstances all feel good in the short term. But comfort is deceptive. It slowly erodes your self-respect until you no longer trust yourself to follow through on anything that matters. Discipline is the opposite of that decay. Discipline is choosing to act correctly even when your emotions are screaming for an easier path. It is training yourself to move forward regardless of mood, fear, or external approval. Every disciplined action is a declaration of independence from emotional chaos. Emotions are not evil, but they are unreliable. They exaggerate pain, glorify pleasure, and distort reality. Fear tells you to stay small. Anger tells you to react instead of reflect. Desire tells you that now matters more than later. If you listen to these voices without discipline, your life becomes a series of impulsive decisions followed by regret. Discipline brings order where emotions bring noise. It teaches you to pause, assess, and act with intention. That pause is power. In that space between feeling and action, freedom is born. A disciplined person is not emotionless. They are emotionally sovereign. They feel anger, but don't let it control their mouth. They feel fear, but don't let it dictate their movement. They feel temptation, but don't surrender to it. This control doesn't come from motivation or inspiration. It comes from repeated self-command. You train discipline by doing hard things when no one is watching, by keeping promises to yourself, and by holding standards even when it would be easier to lower them. Over time, your emotions stop dominating you because they learn that you are in charge. Without discipline, you are constantly reacting. Someone disrespects you, and you explode. A setback appears and you collapse. A challenge demands effort and you avoid it. Reaction is the language of weakness. Discipline replaces reaction with response. It gives you the ability to remain calm under pressure and focused under stress. That calm is not passive, it is dangerous. A disciplined mind can wait, endure, and strike with precision. That is real freedom, the freedom to choose your response instead of being dragged by instinct. Discipline also builds self-respect. And self-respect is the backbone of confidence. When you know you will do what must be done regardless of how you feel, you stop doubting yourself. You stop seeking validation from others because you have proof of your own reliability. Emotional slaves constantly look outward for reassurance because they don't trust their inner world. Disciplined individuals look inward and find certainty. That certainty makes you unshakable. Freedom is not a gift given by society, money, or circumstance. Freedom is earned through self-mastery. The man who cannot control his habits will never control his future. The person who lets emotions dictate actions will always be predictable, manipulable, and weak. Discipline breaks that cycle. It demands sacrifice now, so you don't pay a heavier price later. It hurts at first because it kills the false comfort of emotional indulgence. But once discipline becomes part of who you are, life becomes lighter, clearer, and more intentional. In the end, discipline doesn't limit you, it liberates you. It frees you from emotional addiction, from self-sabotage, from excuses disguised as feelings. Without it, your emotions will drag you through life like a storm with no direction. With it, you become the one steering the ship, calm in chaos, focused in pressure, and free in the truest sense of the word. Discipline is the foundation of freedom, because freedom is not doing whatever feels good in the moment. It is having the power to decide your actions instead of being dragged by emotions that don't care where they take you. When discipline is missing, emotions become the loudest voice in your life, and emotions are impulsive, impatient, and blind to consequences. They convince you to quit when things get hard, to indulge when restraint is required, and to react when silence would give you leverage. A person ruled by emotions mistakes intensity for truth and comfort for happiness, never realizing that both are temporary and both come at a cost. Every emotional decision feels justified in the moment, but later it shows up as regret, wasted time, broken promises, and unrealized potential. Without discipline, your emotions train you to avoid discomfort at all costs. You start choosing the easy path without noticing how small it makes your life. You delay difficult conversations, postpone important work, and numb stress with distractions. Over time, this avoidance hardens into habit, and habit becomes identity. You don't just act weak, you start believing you are weak. That belief is the real prison. Discipline breaks that cycle by forcing you to act in alignment with your future instead of your feelings. It teaches you that discomfort is not a threat. It is a signal that growth is happening. Emotions are reactive by nature. They respond to external events instead of shaping outcomes. When you live emotionally, other people control your state of mind. A comment can ruin your day, a setback can derail your progress, and a temptation can hijack your focus. Discipline gives you emotional distance. It allows you to observe what you feel without obeying it. That distance is where power lies. You stop being predictable, and predictability is weakness in a competitive world. A disciplined person cannot be easily provoked, rushed, or manipulated because their actions are guided by principle, not impulse. Many people fear discipline because they confuse it with restriction. They believe it will make life dull, rigid, and joyless. In reality, undisciplined living is what drains joy from life. Constant emotional swings exhaust you. One day you feel motivated, the next day defeated. One moment confident, the next insecure. Discipline stabilizes you, it creates consistency, and consistency creates peace. When you know you will train regardless of mood, work regardless of motivation, and stay focused regardless of distraction, your mind relaxes. It no longer has to negotiate with emotions all day. That mental clarity feels like freedom because it is. Discipline also builds respect, both internal and external. Internally, you respect yourself when you keep your word, especially when it's inconvenient. That self-respect becomes armor against doubt and fear. Externally, disciplined people are trusted, relied upon, and taken seriously. Emotional people are tolerated, not respected. They are seen as unreliable because their behavior changes with their mood. Discipline makes you solid. It gives your character weight. When you speak, people listen because they know you are not ruled by passing feelings. Living without discipline keeps you trapped in the present. Emotions only care about now. Discipline cares about tomorrow. It forces you to ask hard questions. Who do I want to become? What price must I pay to get there? What habits must die so better ones can replace them? Emotional living avoids these questions because the answers demand effort and sacrifice. Discipline confronts them daily. It is not glamorous, but it is effective. Freedom is built quietly through boring routines repeated with precision. The truth is that no one is free who cannot control themselves. You may have money, status, or influence, but if anger controls your reactions, desire controls your decisions, and fear controls your risks, you are owned from the inside. Discipline reclaims that ownership. It teaches you to delay gratification, to endure discomfort, and to remain composed under pressure. Those abilities separate leaders from followers, builders from consumers, and winners from complainers. In the end, discipline does not remove emotion from your life. It puts emotion in its proper place. You feel deeply, but you act deliberately. You acknowledge pain without letting it define you. You experience desire without surrendering to it. That balance is true freedom. Without discipline, emotions will always pull you in 100 directions, leaving you tired and unfulfilled. With discipline, your life moves in one direction, guided by purpose instead of impulse. And that is the kind of freedom most people never experience. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because freedom begins the moment you stop being controlled by what you feel and start being guided by what you decide. Most people believe emotions are truth, that whatever they feel must be honored immediately, but emotions are temporary signals, not life instructions. When you obey them without discipline, you hand over control of your future to something unstable and unpredictable. One bad mood can erase years of progress. One moment of anger can destroy relationships. One wave of fear can stop you from taking the risk that would have changed everything. This is how emotional slavery works quietly day by day, without chains or cages, only habits of surrender. Without discipline, emotions become excuses that sound reasonable. You don't train because you're tired. You don't focus because you're stressed. You don't act because you're afraid of failing. Each excuse feels justified, but together they form a pattern of avoidance. Over time, that pattern becomes your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who struggles, someone who can't stay consistent, someone who always needs the right mood to move forward. That belief is more limiting than any external obstacle. Discipline breaks this illusion by teaching you that action does not require permission from emotion. A disciplined person understands that emotions are passengers, not drivers. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel anger and still remain controlled. You can feel unmotivated and still do the work. This separation between feeling and action is what creates freedom. When you no longer need to feel good to do what is necessary, your progress becomes unstoppable. Life stops controlling you because you are no longer waiting for perfect conditions that will never come. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates power. Emotional living is chaotic. One day you push hard, the next day you disappear. One moment you are confident, the next you doubt everything. This instability drains energy and creates anxiety because deep down you know you cannot rely on yourself. Discipline removes that uncertainty. When you commit to standards instead of moods, your life becomes predictable in the best way. You know you will show up. You know you will finish. You know you will endure. That certainty is calming, and calm is strength. Many people avoid discipline because it feels uncomfortable at first. It demands effort, sacrifice, and restraint. But the discomfort of discipline is temporary, while the pain of emotional slavery is permanent. Discipline hurts early, regret hurts later. Emotional decisions always delay pain, never eliminate it. Discipline faces pain immediately and reduces it over time. That is why disciplined people appear calm under pressure. They have already trained themselves to tolerate discomfort. So life's challenges don't shock them. Discipline also protects you from manipulation. When your emotions control you, others can control you. They can provoke you, distract you, flatter you, or scare you into decisions that benefit them, not you. A disciplined mind is difficult to influence because it is grounded in principle. It responds thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This makes you dangerous in the best way, calculated, patient, and precise. You stop giving your energy to things that don't move you forward. True freedom is self-mastery. It is waking up and doing what must be done regardless of how you feel. It is choosing long-term growth over short-term relief. It is holding your standards even when no one is watching and no reward is immediate. Emotional freedom is not about expressing everything you feel. It is about not being owned by it. Discipline gives you that ownership. When discipline becomes part of who you are, emotions lose their power to derail you. They still exist, but they no longer dominate. You feel them, acknowledge them, and then act according to your mission. This alignment between action and purpose creates a deep sense of fulfillment. You are no longer exhausted by inner conflict because your behavior is no longer negotiated daily. Without discipline, life feels overwhelming and unfair. With discipline, life becomes manageable and meaningful. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. That is why discipline is the foundation of freedom. Without it, emotions will always rule you. With it, you rule yourself. And that is the highest form of freedom anyone can achieve. In the end, it all comes down to who is in control, you or your emotions. Life will never stop testing you, tempting you, or trying to pull you back into comfort. But discipline decides whether you rise or repeat the same cycle forever. When you master discipline, you stop asking life for permission. You stop waiting to feel ready, confident, or motivated. You act because action is who you are now. Every disciplined choice strengthens your spine, sharpens your mind, and silences the chaos inside you. You no longer collapse under pressure because pressure has become familiar. You no longer fear discomfort because you trained yourself to walk straight through it. This is where freedom truly lies, not in ease, not in pleasure, but in self-command. The disciplined individual cannot be controlled, manipulated, or broken because their power comes from within. When emotions try to pull you off course, discipline pulls you forward. When the world pushes back, discipline keeps you standing. Build it daily, protect it fiercely, and let it define you. Because the moment you conquer yourself is the moment the world loses its grip on you, and a person who controls themselves is unstoppable.